Hello, hello, hello. Is everybody here? Is anybody here? Maybe. We'll call this take two. Try again. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully you are doing well. I certainly am. As you're seeing on the preview, there are quite a few steps that we're going to work on tonight. So definitely want to give everybody a chance to join in. So today is Monday. We're going over this design in Silhouette Studio. Let me start that over. We are going over this design in Cricut Design Space, and then on Wednesday, we will go over it in Silhouette Studio. Okay, there, I think I said that correctly. Tonight, Cricut Design Space. Wednesday at 7 o'clock, Silhouette Studio. Okay, there, yes, absolutely, there we go. So super, super exciting stuff. I am going to go ahead and get everybody pulled up on the phone. But yes, Dawn, I cannot wait to come back to St. Louis as well. It's part of what spawned my design here. It's because I'm totally missing all the awesome events that we were having. But hopefully, once everything is a little safer and a little less chaotic, we will reschedule some of those. Okay, got everybody pulled up now. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. As you know, if you have any questions along the way, definitely let me know. If you're watching this on the replay, then you can still post your comments. That's completely fine. And because I do try to come back and check on these videos and answer any questions that you guys have or anything like that. So give me a shout out. Let me know that you're here. Tell me what's going on with you. And, questions, always ask them. Linda, yes, I feel like I live in confusion. So, if it wasn't for still having to come down here and run the shop, I probably would have to rely on my phone because Lord knows I can't rely on my husband to tell me either. So, all right, so we're going to jump in and get started. The first thing that I want to tell you about is these state shapes that I'm using here. Those are actually a dingbat font that you can download. And I will give you the link. I always do. I'll come back and post it at the end. But it is available from, let me double check my info here. It's available from Font Squirrel, I believe. But it's a free state outline font. And yes, it's from Font Squirrel. It's called State Face Font, free font. Okay, so you download that, and what that means, and if you haven't worked with dingbat fonts before, the important thing to remember is that these images take the place of letters. So you'll have a couple different options that you can do. For example, to find out these two, you can go to the character map if you're on a PC. You can go to your font book if you're on a Mac, and you can scroll through and get a preview of all the letters. Or if that's not your cup of tea, that's fine. I actually typed out the full alphabet until I found the shapes that I was looking for, because for some reason in my brain that seems like it's the easiest thing to do. It's probably not. It probably took me twice as long, but it is what it is. We all do what we get in the habit of doing, right? So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to select all this, get one good look. All right, so I'm going to delete it. So we're going to start over. So starting completely from scratch, first of all, let me also share something with you that I learned. And I guess I just didn't realize that it was possible, but I do it all the time in Silhouette Studio, so it makes sense I would do it here as well. I've turned off my grid, so I have a completely white background I'm working with here, right? And I will admit, I had to Google it, but if you click up here in the corner, you'll get your different grid options. So that is like the default grid, and then this is the 1-inch grid and no grid. So just in case you're wondering why mine might be a little bit different than yours. So the first thing we're going to do is type some text. So I want to go ahead and let me look up my quote again now that I've deleted it. So of course you can have, I mean, any quote that you want, but one that really kind of grabbed me, it says, "Though the miles may lie between us, we are never far apart, for friendship doesn't count miles, it's measured by the heart." Oh, isn't that sweet? Okay, so what I did is I'm just going to type it out. Though miles may lie between us, comma, and then I need to stop there. And the reason is now I could go on and, you know, keep going and it would just keep typing out my text. But I want, number one, I want this all on one line because I want to be able to curve it. And I did find out that you cannot curve text that has more than one line to it. So I got one box. I just did a copy and a paste. So I'm going to just start a new box and I will complete the second part of my quote. We are never far apart, comma. Okay. Now I can do the same thing, copy and paste, and I want these down here. I will say, for friend, can I spell friendship? F-R-I-E-N-D. For friendship doesn't count miles, comma. It's measured by the heart. Okay, so that was the very first thing that I did. I typed out my text. Well, hello, Cindy from Indianapolis. I can't say that I have been there. I have been through there on an airplane. One of these days I'm gonna get to travel more. All right, so I typed out my quotes, right? And the next thing that I want to do is I'm gonna start a new text box. And if I remember correctly, all right, we're gonna do a really cool magic trick. I think I need capital I, oh, no pressure, I and L. All right, let's find out. I and L. I'm gonna change my text. Drum roll. No, darn it. Okay. So I do know it was after I, HIJKLMNOP. QRS TV WX. There it was. Okay, so there's my two shapes, right? And I can make those bigger. Now, obviously, these are not exact representations. That's okay, they don't have to be. So I'm going to ungroup these. And when you're doing a design like this, you'll just have to see how your states fit together and decide what's best for you. I made Missouri just a tad smaller, but not like a whole lot smaller. I didn't go super crazy with it. Okay, because I still want them to show up well on my whatever project I'm working on, right? Okay. All right, so next we can go ahead and plant our hearts. I used the shapes because they give us this little heart that you can use. And I'm gonna fill it red. And I won't lie, because I used GPS and don't actually know where St. Louis was. I had to look it up. But there we go. And then, so I am actually, not that you guys care, but I'm actually like right here in Florida. But I always like for my heart to still show the edge of the shape. So I kind of put it a little over off to the side, but that's okay. My friends don't mind. All right, so now if you remember in the design, and this is the most difficult part, but we're gonna do the little dotted loop-de-loop to connect our shapes, okay? And you can do whatever loop-de-loop you like. And if you're really good at drawing these, probably what I would do is print this out on paper, draw my loop-de-loop, and then re-upload it, because that just seems like it would be easier. But I'm not really good at doing that. So what I did was I used text, and anytime you need a dashed line, you can type it out. Now I think I did 4 dashes at a time. Whoops, that's not the one I wanted. No, give it to me. All right. Cricut is laughing at me right now. There we go. Oh no, come on. All right, let's zoom in a little bit. Am I trying to do this from too far away? All right, let's increase our letter spacing. That just doesn't look right. It's supposed to be dashed. Let's double click. And we can't double click. Okay. We're going to delete that. Let's start over. I'm not sure what was happening there. It's making it too difficult. I'm going to oh, it only tests me when I'm live. All right. Okay. All right. So let's make this smaller. So we definitely don't, oh, I know what it is. All right, I'm being a silly goose. I don't want it on the state shape anymore. I've been using this, the 212 Moonchild caps. That's what I'm missing. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I still made them a little smaller. Okay, so from here, obviously, we need to get some loops going on, because it's just not quite as cool if it's a straight line from one heart to the other. So what I used was this curve feature, because we did this as text. We can now curve this however we want to. Make it a little smaller. And we are going to continue to zoom in, because it does get a little bit harder to manipulate. All right, so then once I got my first curve going, then all I did was the same thing I did with the text. I did the copy and paste, and then I can come over here and change the curve in the other direction if I want to. And just make sure that my ends line up. Okay, so you see where we're going with that? Now I won't lie, this Florida shape was a real pain in the rear. because every time I clicked over here, it selects the shape of Florida. So you can move that out of the way if you want. Because basically all you need is this heart, and you know that that's the end that you want to connect to. So I did another copy and paste. And I'll just rotate it around and line up my ends. Now some people get fancy with it and they do hearts, like where the loops make a heart. And by all means, I mean, feel free to take that on. I'm sure it can be done, but I seem to just barely get by with making my full loop here, so. And another thing, let's talk about, you can shorten the number of whatchamacallits, dashes that you have, and make your curve a little bit more pronounced, and that will give you a tighter turn. So don't be afraid to play around with that. Copy and paste, turn. It's gonna be like the story of your life until you get this part done. Copy and paste, copy and paste. And you can arrange these dashes any way that you want. You don't have to stick with I cannot help you right now. Okay. Evidently we're having a minor emergency over here. And by minor, I mean like it's not an emergency at all, except to a child, so. All right, can I get that curve back around? So I'm actually gonna come back over here and steal one of these bad boys. And curve. So I didn't like that as much as I thought I would. What if I, there we go, turn. Nah, let's delete that. I don't like that at all. We'll go back to our little 3-dash guy here, as long as he wants to cooperate. There we go. Okay, so if I get that close to it, I put my Florida shape, I can kind of see I'm not really happy with that. I actually would have preferred to come in and come back around from this way. So what we can do is go ahead and start changing the curve to the other side. Oh, 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 too far, too far, too far. Oh, darn it. See, there's where that state of Florida wants to come in. Get back over there. You're in timeout. All right. So I'm going to turn that a little bit more. And then let's also recognize that we can make these dashes smaller. And it makes them a little bit more flexible on what we can do with them. All right, there we go. So if this is something that you're going to do a lot of, you know, I'm sure that there are, you know, better, I don't want to say a better software. I mean, you know, software isn't bad, but I'm sure that you can find more tips and tricks, or just like I talked about earlier, just get better at drawing them by hand, because I'm sure that would be very useful. If you have like an iPad or anything like that, you know, this works. This works. I'm happy with how this turns out, but you know, it is a little time consuming. If this was something that I was going to do, like maybe as a business or something like that, then I wouldn't be really happy with how long each individual one took. You know what I mean? Okay. All right, there we go. All right, so I should be more happy with that. And I am. Now I can adjust my whole state to give myself that little bit of a gap. I don't really want those to blend in. And then if I zoom back out, there we go. I have my little squiggle. So yeah, that's okay. If I was gonna do this as a project, I would come in and I would play with it some more. So don't be discouraged if you're not completely satisfied the first time. So let's go ahead and talk about the final touch. What we're going to do is we're going to curve this text so that it kind of makes a complete, and I curved it at 30, and then I made this one 30. And this part I will say that Cricut made very, very easy. But I can type in how I want it curved. And then down here on the bottom, I can do the same thing, but I can just say -30. Any minute, it's going to catch up with us. There we go. All right, so of course you want these to kind of snuggle in there together, right? I'm gonna move them manually just a little bit, but then I will grab these in and I will center them. There we go. Much better. And then I can grab, well, it might be easier to move the text. So there we go. So that's what we're looking at. And now let's talk about if I was going to cut this out on my machine, then I would definitely not want, you see how all these are individual over here? So I would select everything that was black. Oops, that's not what I wanted. No, I don't want it, just kidding. All right, we'll do the red first. Red hearts, and I could attach those together. Come on, Florida, cooperate with me a little bit. There we go. All right. I moved quite a bit here, didn't I? All right, there we go. So select that again and center horizontally. All right, there we go. Back to square one. So my hearts are now attached together. I can move those. And I can select all of my black here. Now, what I'm going to do first is I do want to weld. I want to make sure that my overlapping piece right here is welded. All right, that'll catch up in a minute. All right. No, Florida, what are you doing? All right. It's not what I wanted. All right. Let me select just these. Weld. Put Florida back. We're always the difficult state. We acknowledge that. Do my hearts line back up? Okay. All right. Now I should be able to attach all of that together so that it cuts together and stays together. Okay. So let's test that theory. If I go to make it, there we go, it all stayed together. So you just have to remember, once you separate it like that, separate your hearts and your text and your states, you just want to make sure that if you were to come back in here and size it, that you don't necessarily have to put them back in the exact place, but you definitely want to put them back together and then size them as a whole. So I hope that makes sense, because I definitely want to keep them the same size. I'd be really sad if I went through all that and then I cut it and my hearts were too small for the design I had pictured. So this design is really good for like coffee mugs, if you guys drink a lot of coffee. It's cute for shirts and tote bags, but I seem to see this a lot on coffee mugs. So just kind of throwing that out there, or signs. I also see these types of designs when you and your spouse are from different locations. Then you would use a different quote, but you could do this to be able to incorporate both of your home states, into your home decor somehow, or something like that. So just something to keep in mind. And with that being said, this is actually the end of the video. I think you guys have stuck it out pretty darn good. Sorry for some of the mishaps, but that's just what happens. So if you end up making this design for yourself and you put it on a project, please, please, please be sure to share it in the Craft Chameleon group or the Silhouette Life Inspiration Box group, whichever one you're part of, because I check them all out and I really would love to see what you guys do with this design. So, all right, well, I'm going to wrap it up. I do not see any additional questions, but of course, if you have any questions, please let me know and we will definitely get those questions answered for you. So, thanks again. You guys have a good night. Bye.